Hello friends, welcome back to another tutorial on Netcode-Hub channel. My name is Frederick and I'm glad to have you here today. In today's video, we are diving into the world of Refit Client in Web API. If you've ever found yourself tangled in the complexities of making API calls, you are in for a treat. I am going to show you how Refit simplifies the process, making your code cleaner and more maintainable. Stick around to discover how this powerful tool can revolutionize your API interactions. First of all, what actually is Refit Client, or Refit for short? Refit is an automatic type-safe REST library for .NET Core, Xamarin, and other .NET platforms. It allows you, the developer, to define only your API interfaces in a declarative way using C# interfaces and attributes. Refit then generates the implementation code at runtime, handling the HTTP communication for you. This means you can focus on defining your endpoint and data models, leaving the boilerplate HTTP handling to Refit. This is very simple. When using Refit, all that you need to do here is to define your interfaces, and that is all. You know, when working with API or even with Blazor applications, you have to create service to make call to an external service out there. Now, in order to make this call, you create your interface, then you create your implementation, which inherit from the interface. That is a normal thing that we do, or the traditional way of creating our applications. Now, with the help of Refit, all that you need to do here is to create your interfaces. And when you start to run the app, during runtime, Refit will then create the implementation for you. All that you need to do here to make this happen is to use the Refit attribute on top of your interfaces. And that is all. So you can see, simplicity, it is a reason why you should choose Refit. Aside from that, it cleans up the code. So code cleanness. You need not to be writing a whole lot of code to scatter your application. All that you need to do here is to introduce the Refit, and you have only your interfaces, no more implementations. Aside from that, it also time saving. It saves time a lot. Taking time to write this implementation can cost you a lot, isn't it? By using this attribute, it's very simple and you go your way. So these are some of the reasons why you should choose Refit over other clients. I have made a video on how to use RedSharp and also HttpClient. Now this video is talking about how to use Refit. So you watch 3 of them, then you choose one. But for me, I'll go for Refit because of how it saves time. Alright, so let's see how we can work with this. So you can see that I have my web API project created. I created that's a blank solution, and after that I have 2 web API projects added. Now we're going to simulate one as an external service that you're going to make a call to. So we have a local API, and that is where we're going to be using the Refit client to make call to the external API service. Okay, now in the external API service, we want to connect to SQLite database. We want to perform CRUD on that, so we can call this service and perform this CRUD service. So in order to do that, we have to first install the packages. We're going to install the Refit to the local API, and that is the only package that you're going to install. Aside from that, when you go to the external API, we need to install the efcore.tools and the SQLite, because that is where we're going to implement our data access. Okay, so let's get this done. Now with this, I can just unload this because I have this package installed already. So I'll just unload this project. But if you don't have it, all that you need to do here is to go to dependencies and I install this package. So I'll just go in there and I'll grab the package reference since I have it already installed. So the name of the package that you need to install here is known as Refit HTTP Client Factory. So install this package, and that is all. These are all packages that you need to install. So after that, just have to reload project with dependencies. And aside from that, I also install 3 packages that is the external API. Now that is this one, so I also unload this project. The reason why I'm doing this is I have this package reference installed already, so in order to reinstall them, what I can do here is I can restore them from here. Okay, so you need to install EF-Core, SQLite, and our tools. So save this and reload project with dependencies. You have this package restored. So now that we are done installing our packages, we want to focus on the external API, because that is where you want to create our connection and a database. So the first thing to do here is let's create our model. And maybe a model is what we're going to be using to create table for our database. Let's create a simple model for that. And maybe this is going to be user. So let me add a model here and I'll name it as user. You can modify this. You can change this and the properties in this model to suit what you want. This for just a demo purpose. So you can modify that. Now let's say in this, for simplicity's sake, I want to specify only 3 properties. ID should be the first thing. We have our name and email. Okay, so now that we have this, we can save this and we need to create our DB context. So let's go in there and I'll create a DB context. We can create folder and I'll name it as data. So let's see. Aside from that, let's create a class. And now with this class, we're going to name this class as DB context, which is going to inherit from the app DB context class, which is coming from the entity framework core. So add a class with this app DB context, and now the app DB context, we need to inherit this from the DB context class, and also we need to create a constructor, specify our DB context in here, and then we need to create our DB set using our model to create a database table name for us. Okay, so now that we have this, all that we need to do again is to register this connection. How can we do that? We go to the program.ts file, and that is where we're going to do this magic in there. So navigate to the program.ts, and now since we are using SQLite, creating connection is quite simple. All that you need to do here is to specify data source and passing the name of your database. Now, with the use of SQLite, you're going to have the database that a file attached to your project. So you can see we have all in one. Okay, so now that we have this, the next thing we're going to do here is we need to build this project and perform database migration. So let's build this project. So I believe yours has also succeeded in building. Now click on Package Manager Console, and now the first command to do here is add migration. Give it any name of your choice. So you make sure you have this external API service selected or set as default or startup project. So if you haven't, then do it as I do. Then in the Package Manager Console, you can add migration. Give it a name as first or any other name at all. After the file has been created, you're going to update this. So the next thing is to update the database and type in update database, and I wait for this class to run so we can have a database attached to our project. So we're going to have the database attached to this project, and there you go, you have it in here. So now that we have this set, the next thing we're going to do here is we need to create a controller. Now in this controller, we're going to specify all the CRUD operations in here. So you know something, I have this controller created already, so maybe I can skip that, the stress that I'll go through in order to create it. But not to create controllers, you have one default already here, so maybe you can edit this. Or you can just right click on controller, then go to add new controller. You specify an API with an empty one, API empty, then click on add. You can give it a name, and then you're good to go. Click on OK or add. Now your controller will be created. This is very simple steps, isn't it? Okay, so this controller, I'll name it as, that's a user controller. So let me just cancel this. Now I'll paste this controller in here to the controllers folder. And all that I need to do is, let's see. So we have this in namespace, and in here we are injecting an appdb context. We are performing a CRUD operation. So you can see we have read. So maybe I can put this read here. This is read. We have our add. So that is add. Then we have update. Then the last one is what? Good, that's delete. So we have delete, so we can have our complete CRUD. So we have, you see, that's what we are having. We are going to update it. You need to specify the ID that you want to do, get it from the database. In case you have it, remove it, and now save changes, return OK. In case you could not find anything, then please do return not found. Update it, make a search out of this, then update the various properties, save it, and I return OK. And when you come to the add, we're going to just add it straight away. And now from get, we get all as a list, return it to the call. Okay, so we have this simple created. Now let's see, once we're done with this, the next thing I'm going to do here is we're going to run this and now check it out. So I'm going to click on this. Now let's see what's going to happen. And that is it. So we have our API working. Now we can try this out. Let's see if we can get a list of an array of users. Yes, we have this an empty one. So we can try this out by adding one. Let's set a default. So 204 created. Then we can go ahead and now get it. And now we have it. We can also make delete or update. So the ID here, it is 1. You want to update this to admin. Execute this. Okay, so 200. Then if I go to get again, yes. Okay, so this is working. So let's assume this an external service, and anytime that you make a call to this endpoint, you're going to get a response, respective responses based on the specific action method that you're going to make a call to. Now let's go to so let's close this. Let's go to the local API, and in there we're going to make a call to this. So normally, when you want to make a service call, you have to create your interface. Then after that, you have to create implementation. But with the help of this Refit Client, we don't need to create implementation. All that you need to do here is to create your interface, and that is all. This is quite simple. Let me show you how to do that. So we can minimize the external service. Now let's go to the local, and in here, I can create a folder, name it at service. Well, I can put it into at services. Now this services, let's create, maybe we need to create a class here. We can create a class library which is going to be shared, because we need to also get the same user in here. But for now, let's add the default one. Let's also make a copy of the class in here as a user. Now let's create our service. Now this service here is going to be an interface. And the name of this interface is going to be iUser. Let's say iUser service. Now this user service, I have to get task of enumerable. And now this is going to be an enumerable of user. And maybe I need to include the namespace in here. Okay. And I can say this is get users. Right. Now I also have tags. And now here, this is just create user. We need to specify the user, then an object. Quite simple. The next one here, it is tags update. So we have tags, and that is update user. And then here we need to specify the user and the model. And the last one that we need to do here is delete, and that is also tags of delete user. And now with this, we need to specify just an ID, because you want to just delete only user with an ID. Okay, so you can see we have this interface. Now in the normal or the traditional way, when you have the interfaces or the interface created, you need to create implementation, isn't it? And it is through the implementation that is where you're going to inject your HTTP client and now make a call to the external service API. I believe you all know this, but with the Refit, let's say we're going to skip that. The implementation will be created for us during runtime. All that you tackle here, it is this. Now, once you have an interface like this created, the next thing to do here is to put on your attribute. So the attribute here needs to specify the endpoint to your service action method. So in that, from this get, our controller is having, let's say this is get method to put this get, and now this is coming from Refit. We need to specify the endpoint, that is user, and now get. That is the endpoint from the action method. Now let's go to the next one, and this is going to be create. So this create, we're going for post, specify your user, and that is add. The next one is an update. That's quite simple, isn't it? So there's an update, and an update here we can have put, and with this put we have this user as a controller, and now update as an action route to this action. Okay, then we have the last one as delete, and now this delete we have our HTTP, and now here it is just delete, and now with this delete we have our user, then we have this is delete, and then specify the ID. So when during runtime is going to replace this ID to this. Okay, so now that we have this, what else can we do? We need to restart this interface in the program.cs file, and we can specify the base address. How do we do that? It's also quite simple. Go to your program.cs file in your local API, and that is a program.cs file. Now in here, let's specify build.services.add refit. Now here you implement the interface that we created, and that is an iUser service. So add it here, iUser service. That is the interface that we created. And now here let's specify base address. Now how do you specify the base address? Let's check our external service. Let's go to the properties, line settings, to the HTTPS section, and now in there let's grab that is 7136. So grab that, quickly go back again, and I replace it with that. Quite simple. So we have specified our base address in here. So it's going to pick the base address, and it's going to append the route that we specified on top of our interface on it, and use it to make a call to our exactly controller or the service controller action method. Okay, so now that we have this set, all that you need to do here is to use this interface in the application. Now maybe you're asking yourself, whoa, as soon as you create interface, you need to register that. Yes, we've done this. Check here. So you can see that's the registration. So we are adding it to this, and now we've registered that. So you can inject it anywhere, and now start using it. That's so beautiful. Now let's see. So in our controller, we have a controller in here. From the local controller or the local API, we have a controller in here. So with this controller, we want to create a simple controller for this, and now this controller will handle maybe I can name this as CRUD controller. What do you think? Maybe this CRUD controller will help, because you want to perform CRUD operation in here. So maybe CRUD controller, and I have one controller created already, so I didn't know to create another one. I just have to go in there and grab that, and as soon as I grab it, all that I need to do here is to change the namespace. So there you go. That is the controller that I have in here, and let me change this. So this is coming from iUser service, and let's include the namespace. Quite simple. So you can see that we are injecting the interface that we created in here. This interface exists with that implementation. Refer to do that. Then the next thing that we're doing here, you can see we have this get. It is calling this user service or get user. So user service.get get users. Then we have add. It's calling the add, that's a create user. Update it, and now we have delete as well. Delete it. In there we need to specify the ID that you want to delete, and to pass the ID to the service, whereby the service also has a method that's going to be generated for the implementation during runtime, which will make a call to the endpoint that we have in the external service. Quite simple. So now that we have this, we're going to run the two projects together. Let's set this local API as a startup, run this, and now when we are done, we're also going to run the external service API. Okay, so let's wait for this to get run. Now let's see how to also run this. Right click on that, go to debug. Let's wait. After this has run, we can get the access to this. Start without debugging. Then we run this project as well. Alright, so this is ready. Now let's go in there and run the other one too. So I'm going to right click on that, debug, and I'll start without debugging. This is also going to run our external service. Okay, so let's see. Now you're going to make a call to this. And now when we make a call, you see we are injecting the interface. Maybe we can put a breakpoint so you know what is going on. From the get, we can put a breakpoint here, and this get hit after we have this data from the endpoint. Now let's check it out. So get users. Now this is going to return a list of users. So let's see, it's going to make a call. Now the point is hit. So you can see this is hit, and it's calling this service. So this service is going to return a list of users in here. Okay, so that is the implement. We have the interface that we use, and we have everything that the service, the Refit need, base address, and all the other stuff it needs to get it. Let's click on continue, and now we're going to have, we have only one. So let's go to the API here. Let's add another one. So let's add user. Add this, and maybe I can add netcode. Add this. So if I go to get, we have 3 records. Okay, let's go to the local and making a service call, and I can see we have this. You see this? We have this from the service. So let's see, if I want to update, or if I want to even add another one, let's say this is from local API, and I'll click on execute. So let's run this again, and I can see we have it. We can also make a delete or an update. All that you need to do here is to specify the ID. So this is 4. Now from local API, let's say from Netcode-Hub, and if I click on execute this, it's going to get executed. And if I go for get all again, I must have one updated. And lastly, I can make delete. So let's see, if I want to delete the same record, 4, and execute this, also delete it. Now let's go again and I'll make a call, get all records, and see if we can have access to the 4th one. It is off. So that is the simplest way of using Refit Client in your web API to make HTTP calls. So if you're looking to streamline your API calls, reduce boilerplate code, and maintain a clean, efficient code base, Refit is the solution you've been searching for. Its simplicity, strong typing, and extensibility make it a standout choice for any .NET developer. So why wait? Dive into the world of Refit with us and see how it can transform your API interactions. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest tutorial. Thank you, and I'll catch you up again.